Good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the world you are. My name's Peter Gable, and I know I can see some familiar faces on here already. Tom, hello, and Neville and Elliot, I can see you on the screen here. There's plenty of other people joining. So for friends new and old, welcome to this presentation, RPC Lunch Bites. So this is all about what's new in P6 Professional version 20, and there are some quite significant changes made in this version, and I thought it'd be a good idea to share some of those changes. And for those of you who are currently using P6 EPPM, the web version of P6, has had most of the updates lately, and P6 Professional has largely just had bug fixes and stuff like that. So it's refreshing to see that now we've actually got some actual real life changes in P6 Professional, and they're what I'm going to go through with you. I think I've got an option here to just mute everyone so we don't get any background noise. Where's that option? Can't find it. Anyway, if you can mute your video, that'd be great. So just before we dive in, and for the new people who've just joined, there's a quick link. If you can click on that link and just tell me which current version you're on, and then, like I say, there's method in my madness for doing this. So while I give Claire and Rafi and Paul, who've just joined, welcome. So what we'll do first of all, we'll dive straight in, and I'll just minimize this screen, and I'll show you the results of the survey so far. So hopefully most of you got this survey. So just asking which version are you on, or if you're not using P6, that's absolutely fine as well. So let's have a look at what sort of responses we've got. I'll just refresh that. Hopefully we got a few. Oh, thank you for all those who've responded. Fantastic. You can still respond a little bit later on. So I can see that there's a few people on version 15, so you're way back there. The majority seem like you're on version 17, and there's a few quite up to date, and a few not sure as well, but that's absolutely fine. So thank you for that. So what's the reason for asking you what version of P6 you're on? Well, first of all, you might be interested in a little feature called the Cumulative Feature Overview. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but as you know, P6 has different versions, come out at different times with different features. So this spreadsheet here that I'm about to run gives you the option to say, okay, I'm on version P6 and I'm using P6 Professional. I'm currently using, let's pick version 17 as that was the most common one. So I'm currently on version 17.1 and I'm thinking about upgrading to version 20. Yeah, and that's the latest one there. And then when I click Run Report and click OK, you get a little report that looks like this. And you can just quickly zoom through the features in P6 Professional from release 17, and it tells you all the new features that are in that particular release. So if I scroll down, you'll see there's been a whole bunch of features that are in release 20. And that's the purpose of today, is to go through this. So this cumulative feature overview is publicly available, and we'll make this link available to you straight after the seminar is finished. We'll also be capturing some questions on the chat. So at the end of the session, I'll look at the chat that's been going on, and if there's any questions, I'll try and take those as fast as I can. Okay, so that's a bit of the background where we are. So first of all, let me fire up my P6 Professional version 20. And the first thing you'll notice is we've got a nice new standard across all Oracle products login screen. And we've got a databases tab where you can set up access to different databases, standalone databases or cloud databases, or however you want to do it. And so it's a nice new screen, and it's dead easy. The configure to add a new database connection is a lot more streamlined as well. So first of all, I'm just going to log in, and I've got a version 20 standalone database that I've got on my system here. So I'm just going to log in with admin. So this is P6 Professional version 20, and it's the PPM version. So I'm going to be taking you through 5 or 6 of the new features, explaining why I think they're useful. And like I say, I'll take some questions. So first thing you'll notice is I've got two projects open here. They're just from the Oracle Standard database, as you can see. So I've got 2 projects open. The first new feature I want to talk you through is on the scheduling options. So when I go into schedule my project, first thing you'll notice is we've now got 2 options for scheduling. We can say all projects use their own data date. So if these 2 projects that I've got open have got different data dates, it would schedule to those data dates. Or I can say apply this date to all projects that are open. Now, you obviously have to be a bit careful with using that one, because if the other project has got a different data date, it's going to set it to this new data date. So you need to really use this with caution. This feature was available in EPPM already. It's now just been made available in P6 Professional. So you just need to be careful of that. Another nice little feature is if I go into the options tab here, you'll see that I can select options, use scheduling options from, and because I've got 2 projects open, I can pick which project I want to choose and which scheduling options I want to use. So for example, in Nesbit building expansion, I might want to ignore any external relationships. But in this project, Saratoga, I might want to choose something different. And this is another nice new feature. So 2 for 1 here, chaps. So not only can I see the different projects and their settings, if I make a change to the setting, I can now say, yes, I want to save the changes to Nesbit building expansion. So if I say yes, and now look at Saratoga, I might want to say, I don't want to do that in here. Okay, so I can go into each setting, and I can save those settings dependent on the options that I picked. It could be any of the options on the general tab here or on the advanced tab. So whatever settings I make, as soon as I make those changes or change anything, then as soon as I move away from it, it'll say, do you want to save those? Do you want to save those settings? And it'll remember that for next time. So I think that's a real neat feature. So I'm going to say no to that. So 2 features on here, just to recap. First of all, you've now got the option to schedule projects using their own data date, which you could always do, or apply the selected data date to all open projects. So there we go. That's the first feature and the little save as well. So moving swiftly along, I really like this feature. This is about multiple financial periods. So as you can see here, I've got two projects open, and if I go to the projects tab, for each of these projects on the general here, you'll see there's a new field that says which financial period calendar am I using for which project. So I'm going to pick these 2 projects as my examples. So EC 630 is using a monthly period calendar, and EC 530 is also using a monthly period calendar. But actually, I want to track financial periods weekly on this project. So what I need to do, a couple of things. First of all, in admin, is go into the financial period calendars, and this is where you can see my monthly calendar that's assigned to these 2 projects has been created. And if I look in this financial period calendar, I can see that this is a monthly snapshot, be able to capture snapshots by month in this particular project. But what I want to be able to do is I want to say, actually, Nesbit, I want to capture financial periods weekly. So what I'm going to do, and this is obviously a new button in P6 version 20, I'll click Add, and I'll just say I want to capture weekly performance reporting periods in weekly. And then when I go into modify this, I'm going to do a quick batch create, and I'm going to say I want to create for every 1 week. Yeah, starting at the beginning of the year, finishing at the end of the year, and I want to create 52 weekly reporting periods. So I'll create those reporting periods, and I'll just say yes to this. And I love it when a plan comes together. So 52 new financial periods were successfully created. So I can click OK, click close, and you can now see I've now got 2 financial period calendars, a monthly one and a weekly one. I can set one of these to be the default, and the default being when I create a project, which financial period do I want to use. Now you can have as many of these financial periods as you want. I think you'd run out, you could have a daily one, a quarterly one, or however you want to capture your financial periods. If I just click close now, and what I said was going back, so Saratoga, Senior Community, I want to leave on the monthly financial period calendar, but Nesbid, I want to be on a weekly basis, so I'm going to choose this one. It shows me the weekly dates that I've just created, and I'll click the select button, and I'll say, yeah, I need to summarize the project, click OK, and I've now got this project, EC630, working on a financial period weekly, and Saratoga is working still monthly. When it comes to actually capturing or storing your period performance, when I go into Tools and Store Period Performance, you'll see now, because I've got 2 projects open, it's telling me that Nesbid is on the weekly financial period calendar and Saratoga is on the monthly. And so I can store the period performance either based on weekly performance or monthly performance. And I think that's a real neat feature. In the past, you only had 1 financial period, and that was across the whole of the P6 database. So if you set it to monthly, it was monthly. If you set it to 13 for weekly periods or whatever it was that. So now you've got the ability to add multiple financial periods and assign them to different projects. Okay, so that was multiple financial periods. Now, as you know, you can P6's real strength is in its coding capability, and there's a couple more codes that have now been added into P6. And the first one I'm going to talk you through is, you'll find it in the enterprise menu, and there's a new code here called assignment codes, a new field here called assignment codes. So there's a couple that's come into the system. So I've got departments, different departments, and I've got different phases or different shifts or whatever. And these assignment codes are assigned against a particular resource against an activity. Okay, they're against a resource against an activity. So if I just close this down and go to the resource assignments window, I can see that I've got my resource assignments window set by resource by activity. So each of these activities might be in a different stage or phase or department or whatever it might be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this column to my view here, and it's called assignment codes. I'm going to pick one of the assignment codes that's been set up, so maybe status, yeah, or maybe department, whatever, and then click OK. So I've now got some columns that allow me to add a status. So this activity is ready to work, and it's in department mechanical, yeah. And this activity might be planning in progress, and it's in a different department or the same department, whatever I choose. I can use fill down to populate those codes quickly. So I can do this, and I can say these are all the ones that are work in progress. And I can fill down on these, yeah. So you get the idea. I can quickly tag an activity with a resource assignment code. So this is in additional to what we've already got in P6, which is, oops, I need to do that again. Let's make that mechanical. We know we can already have resource codes and we've got activity codes, but now this also gives me the ability, I'm making a bit of a pig's ear of this, let's just do a fill down, there we go. So we've now got the ability to assign an assignment code to an activity, to a resource. So it's like another level of coding. So now I've done that, what's the use? What can I do with it? Well, of course, one thing I can do with it is I can go into my columns and group and sort by. And again, if I go into customize here, so instead of grouping by resource ID, this time I want to, let's say, view this by status. I'll scroll down here and I'll say, show me all the activities by this assignment code called status. And I click OK. I can now see all the activities that are work in progress, ready to work, planning in progress. And these, of course, I haven't assigned a status to, but I can just reassign codes as I wish. It'll lot them in wherever. So if you're not careful, we end up with a plethora of codes, but the more codes we have, the easier it becomes then to group, sort, filter, and report. So that's the next little, what's new is assignment codes. Now back to activities, and the next little feature is on the user defined fields tab. Okay, this wasn't here before. If you wanted to start assigning user defined fields to individual activities, what you had to do was actually put those columns, the user defined fields, as a column on the activity layout and then populate them. So what you can now do is you just click on an activity, click on the user defined fields. I'm going to click on customize down the bottom here, and I'm going to say, okay, these are the user defined fields that have been defined in my system. And I want to show a text field, this one here, and I want to show an indicator field, and I want to show a start date. Okay, I can move these up and down, position them however I want. So I might want the start at the top there, and then the contact person, and then the indicator. So instead of having to create 3 columns and then populate those 3 columns, I've created them or added them in at on the user defined fields tab here, and then I can go in and I can pick a date when this is the planned start date, for example. I could put some text. Yeah, free format text can go in here, and I can also assign indicators. Okay, so this might be yellow, green, blue, whatever my indicators are. And I might want to do the same on the next activity. Yeah, a date and a text. Yeah, and maybe a different indicator. So instead of having to show these as columns and populate them, of course, I can still use global change to populate these defined fields, but it's just easier. This feature in version 20 is just easier to assign user defined fields. You may also find that actually this was released in version 19, but it was so good I felt compelled to show you it now. Okay, so that's feature number 4 or 5, I think. Now the next feature is on the relationships tab, and I'm going to take you to the relationships tab, and you've now got a column that you can add into relationships called comments. So for example, I've got site preparation, and we can see it's got a start to start with the excavation, but I've decided that I can do a start to start with 5 days lag. But actually, this is a nice column that you can also add in here, the predecessor details. So instead of just seeing which activity is the predecessor, you can see the activity and the relationship type and the lag all in the same column there. But what I can now do is I can add additional comments in here, and I can add my own comments about why I might have used that lag potentially. Now, the comments don't have to be about lag. They can be about anything to do with the relationship type. That's, the comments are free format. You can put the comments in wherever. Also, you can now report on these the comments. So if I quickly go into reports here, here's one I prepared earlier. So if I look at activity relationships and I go to report wizard and just modify this report. And now what I want to do is in the columns, Yeah, I want to show the comments. There they are. So I'll just nudge that over so I can add whatever columns I want in here. And additionally, now you've got the comments, and these are the comments that I just put in there. And if I click OK and next, and just run it right quick and preview it, we should now have an additional comment for comments. And there they are. Okay, let's just zoom in a bit. Okay, so you can see the comments field against relationships. Okay, I think that's a pretty neat feature, and it's relationship comments. I'm firing away quite quickly on these and conscious that there might be some questions. I'm hoping to take those at the very end. So let's move on to the next change. Now, we found in P6, a lot of people obviously use P6 for resources, resource management, resource analysis, and resource cost and that sort of stuff. We find a few companies don't use roles that much because they don't see the purpose of them. And also roles didn't have some of the capability that resources had. In particular, when we created a role, the resource, we could increase the price of the resource over time, but what we couldn't do was we couldn't do the same with a role. So what you'll find now is when you go into your roles dictionary at version 20, and I click on a role, we've now, in the previous version, that just said units, and you could increase the units over time, but what you couldn't do was increase the rate over time. So this now makes the role rate over time behave the same as the resource rate over time. So that's the feature here. We've now got units and prices on against a particular role. There is an additional feature that came in at this version as well, and it's on the codes tab. And we've got some codes set up in here. I'll show you where you would set these codes up. But again, this is as well as the assignment codes at the resource level, and we've also got resource codes. We've now got role codes. So I'll show you where I've created this in a second, but I could say this electrical engineer is a permanent member of staff, whereas the mechanical foreman is the general contractor, the foreman is permanent, the civils is a subcontractor. So I have a whole host of role types. So this is what I've just called the code, but I can assign, if I had more codes, I could assign a different code. So let me show you where that's set up. So if I just go to Enterprise, and you'll now see there's a new menu option on here called Role Codes. If I go in here, this is where I created the code called Role Type. I didn't create any others, but I could just go in and create as many different types of role codes as I want, similar to resource codes, and I can add values in here as I wish, whatever the code might be. And then when it comes to the resource, I can go into Enterprise and roles, and then when I assign a code, it might be this new code that I've just created. Yeah. So totally 2 new features at the role level. The ability to add prices over time, which wasn't available before. You could make the max units over time, but you couldn't increase the rate. So you can see here the rate has gone up. And the second new feature in roles is the codes, the ability to code. Again, where this is going to come in handy, similar to assignment codes, is the ability to group, sort, filter, and report by roles. And that's that one. Okay, now there are a couple other enhancements that are just worth mentioning. And I'm going to go back to my resource assignments here. And you may be familiar with this term, or you may be not, but the term is called bucket planning. So you can see here I've got, again, I've left this by status, but this resource here is working 52 hours in June and 88 hours in July. And these fields are editable. So I can say, actually, I'm working 60 hours here, and it would recalculate the spread accordingly. But the feature now we've got is if I wanted to say, actually, we're working 60 hours through June through to October. If I just highlight a bunch of cells like this and then hit the right mouse button, you'll now see you've got a nice new feature here called Fill Across. So what this will do is it'll make 60 hours across June all the way through to October. And even nicer is I've now got a fill down option. So if you're using resource assignments for your bucket planning, this is a real neat feature, and it's going to certainly make the process of assigning units that much easier. So that was a nice new feature, I thought, that has been brought in at version 20. There's a couple more just to go. I'm conscious of the time here. I know this is a lunch bites seminar, so I'm going to make sure we keep it to the lunchtime. But just go back to my activities view, and I go to my resource usage profile. Yeah, so one of the nice features is, or what I'd like to see, is I'm highlighted on a resource, or I can highlight multiple resources, and it gives me the profile for those individuals or the group of resources. But actually, I want to see what Paul Kim's planned or remaining units are in April. I can see they're roughly between 400 and 600, so hazard a guess at 500, I don't know. But if I know I can do this already in previous versions. I can double click on the bar and I get a little pop-up box, and it tells me actually it's 454. So I was guessing at 500, I was a few units short. And I can do that on each of the bars. That's 184, and this one is 58. But the new feature in P6 Professional version 20, and I think you're going to like this one, is I'm going to right mouse button, I'm going to go into my resource usage profile options, and I'm going to go into my graph tab here, and there's a new tick box to show values. And when I tick the box to show values and click OK, lo and behold, it now gives me the exact values on the bars. So I can click on any resource and it now shows me the exact value. So I don't have to double click on the bar anymore. I can actually show the values on the bar. And when it comes to printing the resource histogram out as well, I can also show the values on the histogram when I print it out. I don't know about you, but I think that's a nice, neat new feature, and certainly make life a bit easier, especially when you're looking at resource analysis. Of course, if you had actual columns and remaining columns and all the rest of it, they'd also show the exact values. Now, a couple more features I just want to quickly run through with you, and these are based around security these days. And if I go into the admin menu and preferences, there's a new tab here called exception site list. So as you can see, I've got oracle.com and I've got rpc.uk.com. So I'm putting Oracle on my exception site list, and you'll see why I've done that in a minute. I'm not picking on Oracle. I know there's a few Oracle representatives listening in. I'm not picking on you here, guys, I promise. So there's a new feature here called exception site list. I'll show you how this manifests itself in a second. And of course, you can add any other URLs that you want in here. And also on here, there's a button for, where's it gone? It's in options, and it's called document security. So as you know, when you're, and I'm going to show you the feature when you're in notebook topics, you can upload certain files to your notebook. And what we want to do is we want to make sure those files that you upload are not potentially files that may carry a virus or some sort of Trojan or something like that. So we can say, show a security warning if you link to an exe file or a com or a bat file. You could even put any a suffix for a file type in here. You'll get a security warning saying this file might contain a virus. Just be careful with this. Okay, so two things on here. There's an exception site list, and there's also in options document security. So where does this exception site list come up? Okay, let me show you that. So remember, Oracle is not enabled, but RPC is. And if I go to an activity that's got a notebook topic on it, let me find one. Just go here and notebook, and I think it was this one. No, where's it gone? Can't find it. There it is. So you can see here, I've created a notebook topic, and I've added in two URLs. So sponsor feedback, you want to click this link or this link. And when I click the RPC UK link, lo and behold, I can launch it and it will take me straight to the RPC website, of course. But if I try and click on the Oracle link and launch it, then I will get a message to say your administrator has denied access to this URL. And that's because I didn't enable it in the site exception list. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with the oracle.com website. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. So if you did want to go to the oracle.com website and you click launch and it wouldn't let you access it from within P6, you can just click the copy, then go to your browser and paste it in. You got it that way around. Okay, so the exception list is saying you can directly jump to the RPC website from within P6, but you've got to come out of P6 and you can copy the URL and you can do that. Similarly, if I was to add a file into notebook topics or into my WPs and docs, and it was a .exe file or a .bat file, then it would stop you. You'd get a security message for that. Okay, so there's that's pretty much my quick 35-minute blast through of the new features. There's a lot of new features to take in and try out, but I think they should make a real difference to your projects. If you want to browse a full list of the features, remember there's the cumulative feature overview that I showed you at the beginning. We'll also be sending you a link to this recording, and in a second or two, I'm going to go to the chat messages and see what messages we've got. So if I don't say thank you very much, then thank you for listening. I do hope you found it informative. I'm going to carry on for a few more minutes yet, so don't disappear just yet and go get your sandwich. Just bear with me. And yeah, without further ado, let's see what we've got in the chat, and let's see if you've been busy sending me some questions. Okay. All right. So Claire, can you direct us to where I can set up the financial periods using ePPM? Yes, I can. Would you like to show me that now? Would I like to show you that now, Claire? I can certainly do that. I'll come back to that one in a second. If you use, from Tom, if you use the fill across function, does it automatically change your budgeted units and costs in the schedule? Yes, it does. And it'll pro forma it based on your linear curve, your front loaded, your back loaded, whatever it might be. What about multi-trades on the histogram? Chris, how does the totals look on the resource look? Well, I'm not sure what you mean there, Chris. But if there's multiple resources in the list on the left-hand side, clicking those will give you a total of those trades. Is that what you meant? I don't know, Chris. Wherever Chris is. Okay. But I think, yeah, the totals will sum up. Oh, yeah, thanks. Okay, perfect. Can we export and import comments of relationship? Yes, you can. The easiest way, Hassan, to do that would be to create the report that I ran and just export that out as a CSV file or a HTML file, and then you've got your comments in the report. That's the way I would go about that. And Franco, hello Franco, my friend. How are you? How's Italy?
Very well, thanks. And you?
Relationships to which a comment has been assigned. Don't know. I'd have to check that one out, but I guess it would be if comments is not null, then I'd need to check that one out for you, Franco. Yeah. So I'll see where you're going with that. Yeah. I don't want, if I've got 500 activities, I only want to see the ones with a comment assigned. Yeah, exactly, I get that. I'll check that one out for you and get back to you. We will keep a record of these, and I'll get back to everyone with these are the questions. And Claire, I'll point you at the answers. I might have time to quickly do that now, Claire, if you're interested.
I think I might have found it, to be honest, Pete.
Oh, good.
So it's admin enterprise data.
Correct. You've
global
got it.
Financial period.
You've got it. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was it. Thank you very much for attending, everyone. If there's any more questions, fire away. I hope you found that informative. Love the mustache, Tom. It's not November yet. Like I say, if there's any more questions, you've got our email address. It's enquiries@rpc.uk.com. If you didn't get a chance to fill in the survey, then we will send the link at the end to either update your version, and we're also sending out, did you like the survey type thing? And of course, I did forget to mention what RPC does. Yeah, Russ is going to give me a telling off for that, I'm sure, Russ. Yeah, but this is a little bit about RPC. For those of you who don't know us, if it's anything to do with P6, yeah, we can do it. Do you want to integrate it, host it, train it, support it, install it? We can do it. And these are some of our. That was the agenda for today, and like I say, some of our badges as well. So that's a bit about RPC. We'll share this screen deck as well. So I'd just like to say one final thing. Thank you very much. Keep safe and keep in touch. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Peter. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Claire.